Hey folks, welcome to the Gritty Podcast. I'm Brian Call. My podcast today is with Mark Livesay. The two of us hunted wolves up north in Alberta, and on our way home from the trip, we recorded a couple of podcasts. This is another part of an earlier podcast we did together about this hunt. And on this particular episode, we dive into gear quite a bit, and we talk about basically keeping our hands warm. Share a little bit of our personal experience being in super cold conditions. If you've been interested in getting a pair of gloves or mittens or muffs or things to warm your hands, you'll want to listen to this podcast episode, especially if you are someone running a camera in super cold weather or shooting a bow. This is kind of, just a discussion on that. I think you'll find it useful. We talk about, various, gloves that we like to use and mittens. So it'll be useful. Check it out. Before I get started with the podcast, today is the last day to win the Gritty Wild Arrow experience. If you want to win $5,000 in gear, go down to the Wild Arrow Archery Shop and have Jeremiah set up your bow, hang out with me for a day, shoot bows, record a podcast, do a little workout. You can be entered to win just by shopping at blackflag.com, BLKFLG.com. If you head on over there, you can get one of these new shirts like this one, Dead Bulls Tell No Tales. Get a shirt or some revenge or a bundle, get them together, and you'll be entered to win. If you go over there and you shop and you do buy some revenge and you buy a shirt and you use the code GRITTY, you're going to be entered to win an additional gear package that we're calling the Below Zero package. And it's basically a Peaks sleeping bag, a canvas cutter, a Dominator bedroll, and a Peaks headlamp. So lots of the stuff we're giving away. You have until midnight tonight to go over there and shop at Black Flag and use the code GRITTY. You'll be entered to win both packages. So if you're interested, check that out. Just want to say thanks for always supporting us. Hope you get something out of this podcast episode. Let us know what you think in the YouTube comment section. And now let's get to the show. So Ben was making a few mistakes being
we're picking up Ben
out of Arizona
because we just dropped Ben off at the airport.
He's been doing a ton of warm weather stuff forever, right? He's more worried about AC than he is about, how to deal with cold temps. And so that was a big problem because things were too tight. Same thing. He has those, I gave him an old pair of Sitka Fanatic bibs.
Yeah.
And the reason I gave him to Ben is because they're too small for me. I need them bigger.
Yeah.
Because bigger allows, again, for more airflow.
And more layering.
And more warmth and more layering. So,
you and I do the same thing. So we both buy double extra large. Now I'm closer to double extra large than you are, but we buy literally the biggest size we can get. So that's another tip, guys.
For those cold weather sitting conditions, I have double XL puffy pants.
Me too.
I have double XL like bibs for the whitetail woods and stuff. I have 2 size bigger boots. All that stuff, that extra size gives you more room for layering. And it when Ben was wearing the bibs, he had his puffies on.
It was compressing them.
And then he wore the bibs. Well, they just smashed the down to be flat, which then defeated the purpose of the down. He was warmer when he didn't wear the bibs, or if he only wore long johns in the bibs, or he just wore the puffies and something else like rain pants over the puffies to block the wind. So again, oversized. And mostly I do that on the pants, on the jackets as well, but I may not do 2XL. I might do 1XL.
Yeah, I do 2XL. I'm a bigger dude, so.
But you know what I mean? Like for your body size, you're getting a bigger size, top and bottom.
So like on my bottoms, I was wearing 5 layers. I had my merino long underwear on.
Mm-hmm.
I had a Kuiu the winter pants. I had my Stone, the M7s, whatever. I don't know whichever one has the insulation, a little bit of a felt, the rain pants. That's what I wore in every day because when we got on snowmobiles and stuff, those rain pants were money.
Yeah.
But they have that felt, so they didn't feel cold.
I don't have any of that Stone. I've never used that.
Oh, those pants. The only thing I don't like about those pants, why the world they would make them like this? All the other Stone pants zip all the way down and you put them on.
Mm-hmm.
Those pants do not zip all the way down.
Mm.
You got to take your boots off, which sucks. So I just wore them. And then when I got in there, so that's 3 levels. And then when we got in, I put on those. I just got a brand new set of these Sitka Hyperdown suit. I put the Sitka Hyperdown pants on. And then I put a Gore-Tex windproof felt fleece like your kind of like your whitetail,
Yeah.
your same type of thing. Wind block on the outside, very big, the biggest pair of pants I owned. And man, I was great.
Looking up this Sitka Hyper Down.
I just got it.
It's just a heavier duty down.
It's just I don't want to say expedition grade. It's just a great. Now I will tell you, it doesn't pack down super small. But man, if you want to stay warm, this stuff is.
I'm just trying to figure out how the Super Down and the Hyper Down are different. So Olin had the KUIU furnace.
Oh, he did,
I think, and he bought it 3 years ago and never used it because it's for cold.
Yeah.
And it looks like he loved that. He's like so he was out in the wide open in the cold. Olin was.
Well, he
just
didn't have
sitting
a
in the wind when it was 30 degrees. Yeah, he didn't have the Peaks bag. And other than his feet, I believe he was pretty dang comfortable in that furnace. Now, I was using the Fanatic bibs and top, and that stuff's built for just sitting in the freezing cold and not moving from a tree stand for whitetails.
Well, and it's the ultimate wind block too. It's got the wind block. The wind does not leak through that stuff.
Yeah. So I was wearing that. I don't know how it compares to the KUIU furnace other than it's quieter.
Yeah.
The Fanatic gear was really quiet, but where the outer layer of the furnace is kind of hard. But for the wolf hunt, it was pretty ideal. For a tree stand, maybe not. But for like rifle, wolf, where we were at, it looked like that KUIU setup was better than the Fanatic for that particular situation. But the Fanatic is phenomenal for these just cold weather sits. I just put the KUIU Super Down under it. And then, so I had a down layer, and then I wore the Fanatic over the top, and I'm hot. I'm cozy. So you wore the Hyper Down.
I wore the Hyper Down as my down pants, my down layer. And on my top, I wore, I had the Merino, the new GOHUNT Merino, the new one they just came out with. It's a lightweight one, but it's really nice. I wore it, and then I had my puffy, my Hyper Down, and then I wore that Stone Glacier as a wind block. And my coat, I don't remember the name of it, the gray one, whatever it is. And then I had the outside layer. I was wearing a snow camo, just a cover, not much insulation. It was just a cover, but it's huge, but it allows me to not compress that down. And it protects the down from getting ripped. And we were on the ground, so the snow, a lot of times it worked out really good to have the snow cover camo.
Yeah. So this one it's the Burner. That's what it's called. The KUIU Burner.
Okay.
It's the Super Down Burner parka and pants. I got a feel they're pretty comparable. I think it's probably the solution each one of them has to that. I think it's actually better than the Fanatic. I think it's actually a better, it's for frigid conditions. I'd be curious to see.
But it's got some weight to it, right? It's got a little bit of weight to it.
It's KUIU's description is built for hell frozen over.
Yeah.
It's the warmest packable down hunting parka ever made.
Okay, well, it's got some weight to it. It weighs.
It's way lighter than the Fanatic. Way lighter. Like the Fanatic is not meant for backpacking.
No, it's a fleece too.
It's meant for getting in a tree stand and for silence.
Yeah.
This is for packing. Like this is for the hunt we just did. Hiking into an area. It's in your backpack. You're going to pull it out when you get there. You're sledding into a long way into a place, and you might have to pack it, hike, and then take it back out again.
Yeah.
The problem is I think it's $800 for the jacket.
Yeah.
And I think the pants are.
The Hyper Down isn't. It's a little better than that, but this stuff is expensive. It's you buy once, cry once, right? But man, if you're going to do this, and I recommend you do, this was one of my. Even though I did not kill a wolf, I really enjoyed this hunt.
I think he has the Katana Gale Force pants is what he's got, the bibs.
The bibs.
Or I don't know for sure. I have to check on that. But the other thing that I found was if you are sitting all day long, it is much more comfortable to have a hand warmer sleeve. Like
yeah. You mean like a what's that called?
Muff. And
I left mine at home. I didn't bring mine.
I have both the KUIU and the Sitka version of the muff, and the KUIU is better because, as I compare the two, the Sitka, when you pull your hands out, there's holes in the muff. At least the one that I have. Maybe there's another version. I don't think so.
What do you mean holes in the muff?
Okay, so your hands go into the muff around your waist, right? And you got like a hot hands or some electric warmer or something in there to keep your hands warm, right?
Right.
You pull your hand out and you put your hand back in. You pull your hand out, put your hand back in. Well, they're meant to have like a hand warmer in there, one or two, right? So you're just putting your hands into a warm space.
Yeah.
Pulling them out barehanded. I could run the camera and then I could quickly stick them back in, warm my hands up, pull them out again in the frigid and not have my hands in gloves, which makes it hard to do like little fine adjustments on the camera and buttons and all that. So it's nice to be able to have a space where your bare hands can go in, get warm real quick, come out and go back in. An external heat source in the form of a hand warmer works really nice for that, right? You can throw it in there, and some of the electric ones where we're hunting, usually we were back at a lodge every night, albeit at midnight, but there's enough hours to charge something that's electric as well, and then run it all day the next day. A lot of whitetail guys are all keyed in on this because, these are temperatures that they're sitting in a tree stand with a hand release and a bow, and they don't want to sit there with gloves on and try to shoot with gloves on.
Yeah.
And so they got their hands inside those little hand warmers. The KOHUNT muff is, it has similarly, it has this stretchy entrance for your hand to go in, and then it seals around your hand.
So it closes up.
And so when you stick your hand in to warm up, it's got like this cinch around your hand to keep air and cold, all the cold from getting inside.
Yeah, I got you.
Okay. They both have that, but KOHUNT has an extra seal. Inside, it has a little, it's a magnetized curtain that's a second door, basically.
Okay.
And so that magnetized curtain, it automatically, when you pull your hand out, the magnets come together and close in. So, which is inside, like a couple inches inside the other hand holes where you push your hand in.
Okay.
So I could like shove my hand in and it's hot. I pull my hand out and there's no cold air getting into the muff.
Oh,
because as soon as I pull my hands out, the magnets close it.
Yeah. Gotcha.
And then when I put my hands back in, you just push past the magnets and you're in there. The Sitka one, when I pull my hands out, there's a hole that's about 2 inches by 2 inches on each side. And it's just letting a cold air, like all the hot air that I've been storing in there with the hot hands and stuff, just starts to seep out.
Yeah.
And then I have to put my hands back in to plug up the heat loss.
Yeah.
With your hands, where the KOHUNT, when your hands are not in it, it closes, it self-closes.
Yeah.
But the Sitka one doesn't.
That's cool. I'm going to have to get that then. I don't have that.
It's flatter and less bulky, but that's why it's not as form-fitting. But that's what I like about it because it allows the magnets to close it down and trap the heat. And whatever the material is, it keeps it warm. So Ben was using the KOHUNT one because he's much softer than me, and then I used the Sitka one all week, and I was really wishing I had the KOHUNT version.
Man, you gave Ben all like the warm stuff so he could survive. I guess
you using my sleeping bag.
So I brought the bag for you, and then you let him use it. I was like,
he was too soft. He's too soft. You saw him,
dude. You got to he's from Arizona. He was completely out of his element. He was telling me how he sweated so much. He never has sweated so much as this year at hunting season. And I'm like, well.
Yeah. Welcome to the north.
Welcome to real hunting. Did I say that out loud?
So I think that those are just some of the things that work. I've talked about this before, having some hot foot warmers. They're worth packing in to have a set a day, some toe warmers for when you're glassing. And it's just that, even if you're backpacked in, that luxury it's hard to beat.
Here's the thing. I was going to say earlier, the one thing that I've learned over the years is you don't manage cold when you're cold. If you are getting cold, it's too late in the game to reverse it.
Yeah.
The temperature's not getting warmer. When you let your feet get icebox level, because you're just resisting the urge to loosen your boots, it's hard to come back from that, right?
Ben did that with his hands the first day. and his finger, he lost the feeling in
for the
his
whole
fingers for the whole trip. And his left hand from the knuckles to his wrist just swelled up from like frostbite. And I was like, what were you doing? He's like, well, I was trying to get all the video because I wasn't there that day. He was filming you and him. And he's like, and so he just kept he couldn't work it with the gloves on the camera.
Yeah.
And so, and he didn't have any hot hands and he didn't use the muff. He left it at like everything. And so he was dying. He was dying. The difference between thriving and being totally miserable, it doesn't take much.
Oh, and you got to be proactive is what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
We set down the same process, right? We pop our foot warmers out. We pop our hand warmers out. We get them started because by the time they warm up is about the time you're going to want them.
Yeah.
And so, but a lot of guys will be like, oh, it's prime time. It's a good time. So I'm going to muscle through this.
Yes.
And then by the time they do it, it's too late. So yesterday we went back to the same spot and I'm like, I was convinced myself I'm not moving. And I had this leg problem. So I was not going to get in my Peaks bag because I didn't want to be restricted with my feet just because of my leg.
Yeah.
So I tried to go without it. Well, I loosened my boots. I put my warmers in, but I barely made it. Now it did not get so bad I couldn't handle it. Mm-hmm. But by 8:00, when we packed out of there, my feet were cold, the coldest they've been the whole trip. But I consciously knew I was not going to get in my bag. I already made the decision, but I proactively put the foot warmers in.
Yeah.
And I managed my boots loose. So it worked out. But if I would have put those in right off the bat, then, you wouldn't, I wouldn't have made it. Well, I mean, I would have made it, but it'd been miserable.
Yeah.
And how easy is it when you haven't seen a wolf for 3 or 4 days and you start getting cold? How easy is it to pack up and go home early?
Everyone does.
It becomes so easy, right?
One of the things that Timber King told us was that, a lot of guys just are so miserable. They don't last full days. And that's brutal because, you only have so many days to get a wolf. You're there. You jeopardize the location just getting in to the spot. Like that's always a gamble. You're hoping you're not bumping something or, alerting them to your presence. And then you get there and then you don't ride it out. Maybe that wolf came an hour or two after you left. But that's the same for elk and deer and everything else that you're after. Being able to thrive in the cold and stay with the right setups, that's money. That's key.
So the other thing is what was a struggle for us, not you, because you had the canvas cutter.
Mm-hmm.
But even with the sleeping bag, we were on the ground. So managing the cold seep from the ground is something else you got to do. So what we were doing a combination of things is we laid down these Seek Outside Tyvek tarps. Well, yours was just Tyvek, whatever. Yeah. We laid down a Tyvek.
That ground cloth from Seek is a good one.
Just a barrier for your warmth of your body melting the snow and getting your sleeping bag wet. That was the reason it was down. It serves no insulation purposes. So we put that down, and then I was running 2 stealthy pads, which I had one on my hip and one on my shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had my pack. You just got to put something between you and the ground.
I wouldn't run that. I wouldn't recommend that setup. Maybe for your. I wouldn't run that for a backpack hunt. Yes.
No, I know because we didn't have anything else.
But I would have run the Z pad and rolled that out.
Oh yeah, we had them. We just were worried. I was really worried about. This was another thing I was going to say. What you were talking about the clothes, Brian, like
mm-hmm.
the feel of the Fanatic being a little louder.
Yeah.
I'm
not talking about the air pad.
No, I know.
I'm talking about the foam Z pad.
Oh yes, I got you. That's what you should have ran, but we didn't have it.
Yeah.
But
that's what we took last time.
Yeah, that's what I should have taken. But we brought air pads. But I knew they were going to be too noisy. So what happened for us is on the windy days we could have done it.
Yeah.
But we had a couple days. It was so calm and quiet. They could have heard. You couldn't even roll over.
Yeah.
The other thing you got to realize when it's so cold is everything becomes
sound
noisier.
Carries. Yeah.
And it's noisier. It's crunchier. It's rougher. It's stickier. It's just brittle. So your clothes become brittle.
Yeah.
Everything's brittle. Nylon.
I tell you, that's where that canvas cutter bedroll. I mean, I was every day I was laying on a warm, silent.
Yeah. So Brian was like
pad
laying in the lap of luxury, telling us not to move. He's like, boys, quit moving so much. I'm like, we're laying on an ice cube.
Ben leans over yesterday after like 6 hours of sleep, and he's like, Brian, the ground the cold ground is seeping into my bones. And I'm like, fine, climb on my pad then, climb on my canvas cutter. And so he's laying on there. But it's like, yeah, you need to figure out your system, but the cold ground, you need insulation against that.
I learned a lot of things when I come back, my system's going to be dialed next time.
Yep. Yeah, there's certainly tricks. I do believe that a blind is not needed at all for at 300 yards from the end of the bait area, and you're set up and you've got your sleeping bag and you're tucked into some bushes and stuff. Even if you're sitting in a chair with a pad in it, you're a statue back in there. Especially, there is no need to put up a blind or do any of that and feel uncomfortable. You could sit there all day.
You're better off to be in a position you're comfortable and not move than to be in a lower position but moving.
I mean, setting up a blind is sort of an extra step, kind of a pain in the butt. There's certainly, I think, but not everybody's set up for that, and they're not used to -10 and like riding it out all day.
We were talking about this. I think taking that 3-foot strip burlap, like we use for goose and duck hunting all the time, having a roll of that 8 or 9 foot where you could put it just the right height, where you could tuck your gun below it, or you could be on the tripod above it. Could be money. But what we did do was we just took paracord between 2 trees and we put stacked little brush pieces on it. And man, it was good.
Yeah, you can get yourself brushed in pretty good on a lot of this hunt. Lots of little tricks. Lampers had a ghillie suit net that like an 8x8, like that he was planning to bring, that would lay over everything.
Yeah.
So once you lay on the ground, you just put that ghillie suit like camo net on top of your Peaks bag. You're good. You don't need a canvas cutter. You don't need any of that stuff. What's nice about a canvas cutter is it doesn't move.
Yeah.
But our plan, Ryan and I, our plan was to throw out 2 canvas cutters with the poles inside and throw those ghillie suit nets on top of that. And now you're disappeared. And it's fast. You don't have to cut a branch. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to like disturb the ground much. You don't have to kick out an area. It's like just throw it on top, get on the ground, throw your roof on it, and you are good to go.
Well, you can roll over from left to right to get covered. Nobody's going to see you.
You can also like turn your headlamp on inside, and like pour yourself out a warm hot drink. You can eat. You can move around because you're in a blind. You can sit up in that canvas cutter when it's not really easily, but you can get on your knees and stuff, and you can move around.
Yeah.
You can move. You can fumble and look at your phone or whatever, send a text, and you don't have to you're not out in the open to be seen.
I'm definitely coming back with one of those.
Lots of ways to do it where it's far more effective. One of the other things I was going to mention was gloves.
Yeah.
One of the glove setups because I've experimented with lots of gloves. One of my favorite gloves setups to use, they discontinued it, but it was the Sitka Gore-Tex mitten, and the liner would pull out, and then you have like the Gore-Tex outer layer.
I have those.
It's I have like 4 pair because I bought them before they were, and I go with XL gloves. I have a big hand to begin with. I have a giant hand, but I still go with XL or double XL to try to get the biggest glove I can. It's very rare that a glove is too big for me.
Especially that you won't be able to pull it off easy.
Yeah.
And Ben was struggling with that. Again, Ben had these electric gloves, but he couldn't hardly wear them because he couldn't get his hands in and out of them. He was fighting to get them on and off.
Gloves, especially if they're tight. I hate gloves. I'm not a glove guy. Gloves make your fingers freeze. Some gloves for just some working or you need, but I have found that a mitten setup is way more effective.
Yeah.
So again, one of my favorites was that Kuyu. I could separate the liner out and dry it out pretty quick. Or when sometimes we were hiking and we were sweating up a mountain, having just the Gore-Tex layer to block the wind is all I needed, just removing the insulation layer out of it. And that was another really comfortable way to get from A to Z hiking without overheating. But my favorite cold weather glove, and I've tried a lot, piece of equipment is the Super Down Pro Glassing Grommet by Kuyu. You can remove your index finger from the there's a little slit there and your index finger pops out. Now, they don't have it for the thumb. I wish they would do the same thing for the thumb. I think that would be really handy if you could get both your thumb and your finger out. But just being able to pull that one finger out it takes me like 1 second to wiggle the finger out, do whatever I want to do and tuck it back in. And what I have found, because I've used the Super Down Pro glassing grommet, and then KUIU has the other one that's similar that they call the North Star grommet. I have the North Star glove as well. The gloves, my hands get cold in gloves.
I wore the glove and I did great with it.
Yeah, you run hot.
I wore those, but I had my mittens. I pulled them out one day, that super cold day.
Mm-hmm.
But I ran those gloves with the hand warmers, the down ones.
Yeah, I've run so many gloves, and at the end of the day, they are not ideal for cold weather. Especially
not for sitting.
And if I'm gonna backpack, I don't want to bring like 3 different sets of gloves. So Ben used the grommet, the North Star grommet, and he used the Super Down Pro glassing grommet. And I was like, what do you think? Because the grommet is 100% waterproof. It's synthetic insulated grommet. It's got a leather grip. But what I have found is if it's raining or wet, then the grommet makes sense. But I would rather use the Sitka mitten that I have. If it's rainy, if it's Kodiak, if it's that kind of weather. I like to remove the liner. It's easy to get my hand in and out and so on. Whereas it's just better than the KUIU's version of the North Star grommet. But since we almost are rarely in the rain, except for like Kodiak, for like Sitka blacktails or black bears or brown bears or something, when I'm on cold hunts where there's no rain, it's just snow, you cannot beat the Super Down Pro glassing grommet. It's so much, to me, it's warm. Your hand slips in and out like butter. I don't need like 2 hands to find my way into the glove and get my hand out. It goes in and it's almost warm right away. And the grommet gives you like the crab claw. You can work, it's just your index finger and your thumb are like a glove. And then you got the mitten for the other 3 fingers. But I can pull my index.
You put them all together, can't you?
I can put them all together and just leave that finger out there hanging.
Yeah.
Well, in the North Star grommet, which is their sort of waterproof, heavier duty one, my index finger is always cold in that. Always. I can't keep it warm in that. But in the Super Down grommet, everything's warm. It's just, so the other day I like, Ben, swap me out, ride the sled with this, test it out. He's like, dude, I can feel stuff through this glove. I can move a lot more. I've got more dexterity. He's like, I can get my index finger out because there's a little slit for it to poke out. Plus that finger isn't cold, even though, it's isolated in its own little chamber, its own little sleeve. It's just, trust me, it's a good glove. It's a much better glove than all that other stuff. And it's so compact and light. It weighs almost nothing. It's not, I think, the most durable, but in these snowy conditions and what we're doing, it's
that's a glove. The durability doesn't matter as much for a glove like that.
It's not a working glove.
You're not wearing it on all your hunts. It's a very small selection of hunts. That
it weighs nothing and it compacts to nothing. So it's like you're glassing with it on, and you're kind of doing you're not doing heavy duty stuff with it on.
The removable liner though is money. There's no doubt about that. I had the stone mittens with me. I have the Sitka ones, but Eli had them in his pack, so I couldn't bring those. I think I like those better. But I had the stone down ones mittens. Yeah. I only had to wear them the one day. I wore my KUIU down, just the gloves, all the other times.
I have those Sitka, Storm, like the heaviest duty. They're massive. The glove comes down to like your elbow, and it's pull string. The liner can come out, and there's huge fingers. It's a massive, like high class, like elite glove. And I thought, I am golden in these, man. And they're like XLs, and like I put them on, but I have every finger is so encased in such a thick layer of padding and insulation that I couldn't do anything, even though it was gloves, like barely, like nothing fine.
You're wearing gloves, but you're not getting the benefit of gloves.
Yeah, they're huge. And then not only that, my fingers still got cold.
I know.
Every tip of every finger still got ice cold. That's when I finally, after trying tons of gloves, I probably don't have, the best circulation. My feet and hands tend to get cold in cold conditions. That is where this again. The mittens are money.
Did you see the pair of the wolf mittens they had there?
Yes.
I almost wanted to say, can I borrow those?
Yes. I want to figure out where Timber King got those. They have basically mittens
with down in them.
Yeah, they were legit.
Oh, they were nice.
Massive wolf.
Like elbow size
wolf fur mittens, and riding the sled on that, just like these Canadians, they know how to roll. But I liked it a lot. That was, I wouldn't mind a pair of those, but you're not backpacking with those.
Oh no. They take up your whole lid of your back.
Beautiful though. The fur, the hide, it was, cool
so one of the other thing I'll say about the gear while you're thinking about anything else is we ran our 8K packs, which I almost did bring.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, we had these things to the max. I had my top thing expanded to the maximum.
Yeah.
By the time we got all of our clothes in, shovels,
tripods, camera gear,
tripods,
rifles,
it was like full.
Yeah.
And we maxed that thing out. We looked like we watched the video.
Some of the areas we hike in a fair bit of distance through deep snow, but we're also like, when you're dealing with below zero temperatures like that, you have a lot of gear.
Yeah.
Gear just starts to stack up.
You can't leave anything to chance. But it's going to be the difference between success and failure. You're going to leave the stand early. You're going to be forced off the stand because you're cold. You're going to miss the opportunity right at the last shooting line. And it's just going to happen that way.
Yeah.
And when you have got your last piece of clothes on that you brought and you've got no other options and you're starting to get chilly, you're thinking about, all right, I need to be getting out of here, right? And that's not the way you want to be.
Yeah.
So we did really good on the cold management. I was pretty comfortable the whole time. Ben was pretty comfortable. He messed up a little bit on day one, but I will want to say the other thing this is an observation because I don't have a lot of experience with this and maybe you do, but Ben brought a whole arsenal of electronic shit. He had electronic hand warmers. He had electronic gloves.
Yeah.
He had electronic socks and everything was not working. One, they were failing. But two, they were not warm enough. The electronic hand warmers were not getting near warm enough in those temperatures compared to the hot hands. So he quit running them.
Yeah.
They just would not generate enough heat.
I think that tech there's some stuff out there though that is really nice and it's doing the job. I have a couple of electronic vests that I used for whitetail hunting that are pretty phenomenal. And they'll burn, they'll run all day on a battery, charge it that night. And it's pretty impressive, some of it out there. I don't have enough experience because I don't want to backpack with that stuff. And since most of what we do is actually backpacking, I haven't explored it that much.
Yeah, me neither. That's why I was wondering. But I noticed he abandoned it like after the first day.
Yeah.
He just did not warm up enough.
Yeah. I can't really speak on that. As far as what works and doesn't, but I know some dudes are out there running electric stuff. That stuff's come a long way. The batteries today and how equipment's working, electronic stuff. There's some good stuff. I'm not really privy to much of it. Cause I'm not gonna be able to
recharge it
in the field.
We're not gonna carry it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I do believe that the hand warmer stuff, it's pretty darn good. Disposable pack.
Yeah.
You get a few. When we're done with them, we'll cut them open and dump it out and then just throw the paper wrapper in your bag. And when you're backpacking, it's pretty handy to.
They're just that heat source on your extremities is it's just important. And backpacking gets a little more complicated because you got how many you're going to carry, how many you're not going to carry.
Mm-hmm.
But we also noticed too, guys, is most of you know this already, probably if you're listening to this, but saving hand warmers from the previous year and using them is not the greatest idea.
Yeah.
Sometimes they'll work, but more often than not, they don't get very warm. There seems to be a serious shelf life with these things.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
Yes.
We had packs that would just not warm up, and we kind of deduced that they were last year's models.
Yeah, they were old.
And so just, buy enough that you need for the season. Don't stock up on those things because they just don't tend to last.
Yeah. You can check a package and you'll know, if you've had it for a while, pop one open.
If there's any hardness to them, they're done.
Yeah, that's true.
If there's a stiffness to them, they're finished.
Hey, folks, this is the end of this episode. I got one more podcast from this conversation that will drop in the next couple of days talking about neck gaiters and some other gear stuff in this cold weather conditions. Hope you're getting something out of these shows. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget, You have till midnight tonight to go shop at blackflag.com, blkflg.com, and buy a Gritty t-shirt, revenge bundle, and get entered to win a big, Gritty, $5,000 gear package, and, hang out with us. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you on the next episode. Stay gritty.